Right, hello guys, and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. I hope you guys are coping with the wait until the June 9th update very well. And actually, fun fact, when this video comes out, we have 78 days until the update. So just a little reminder, maybe with future videos, I'll be letting you guys know how close it is, but 78 days until the update. Today, we are doing a video on my wish list for the perks that are going to be coming on the rad weapons with the raid and dungeon refreshes in said update, because in a recent tweet, Bungie asked for feedback from the community about what perks they would like to see on these weapons. So today, thanks to Court, the lovely Court projects, he has created several graphics for these custom weapons with custom perks that we are going to go through, and this is basically my vision of what I want the perks for these weapons to be. So if you like what you see here today, then definitely be sure to leave a like and subscribe, but without further ado, let's begin. We're going to go in release order. We're going to start with Shattered Thrones. We're going to do dungeons first, then onto the raids. So Shattered Throne. Particular weapon I would like to see come back is the Tiger Spike. Now this is a primary weapon. There are a bunch of primary weapons in today's video, relatively weak in this sandbox, so I thought, you know, why not spice it up a little bit? Here we are going with Onslaught and Kinetic Tremors. Now I believe this combination is not on any other auto rifle or any other weapon in general, and with it being a kinetic auto rifle, of course we have a couple kinetic perks on here like Ancillary Ordnance, Adhesive Ordnance as well, maybe Killing Tally, but for me personally, the one I would like to see is Onslaught and Kinetic Tremors. I think that would work really well with Tiger Spike, especially given that it's a 450 RPM. I'll move my head, you can see it's 450. Next, moving on to Pit of Heresy, I would like to see the Apostate return. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this weapon is part of the loot pool in Pit of Heresy, but regardless, it makes sense that it should be. I think it should come back with 4th times a charm and aggregate charge at the very least, because this is a rapid fire arc sniper. And fun fact, I don't think we've actually had an updated arc rapid fire sniper since Apostate. So rapid fire snipers being the best overall frame for damage currently, I thought it would be best to give them some nice perks like 4th times a charm and aggregate charge. But we do also have Supercharged Magazine on here, which is a newer arc perk, which could be cool to see on a sniper. And as you'll see with a bunch of these weapons, Court has gone ahead and created a bunch of custom origin traits, and these don't really mean anything, but it's just to make the weapon look nicer. We've also got like a custom mod here with my logo on it, custom memento, a level meter as well, which I hope they end up giving to dungeon weapons and tiered weapons in the future. I would like to see 4th times charm aggregate charge for Apostate. Next up we have Prophecy, another primary weapon, this being the Prosecutor 450 RPM arc precision frame auto rifle, and I would like to see Onslaught and Jolting Feedback. There's a bit of a trend here. This is Onslaught in the left column with a damage / splash perk in the right. Now I think this would work very well on Prosecutor, especially if they bring back the Gravity Well origin trait like they did for Right of the Nine, because Onslaught just feels really good on auto rifles, and Jolting Feedback also feels very good on auto rifles. You guys remember the VS Pyroelectric propellant from Vesper's Host? Well, this is like a better version of that, basically. So Onslaught Jolting Feedback would be very nice to see on Prosecutor. And by the way, with any of these suggestions, if you disagree or you have a better idea or something like that, definitely drop it down in the comments below. Moving on to Grasp of Avarice, we have the IS Luna here, and admittedly my imagination didn't really get stretched too much with Grasp of Avarice. The weapons from this dungeon are not amazing. Maybe they're more PvP centered. You've got things like the Matador, but with IS Luna I thought give it Firefly plus Crystalline Corpse Bloom or Headstone as well. You know, Firefly Headstone is a very nice perk combination, especially because the Firefly explosion is able to detonate the crystal at the same time that it's made. Shoot loot on here for good measure. Perhaps if we saw something like Explosive Payload as well, make it like a Vulpecula replacement, something like that. But I will admit this one is maybe the least inspired out of all of them. It's a stasis hand cannon. What are you gonna do? Primary weapons, kind of weak. Moving on. Okay, so Duality next. Storm Chaser, iconic weapon. Before the nerf, before the pre-charge nerf that they did to burst linear fusion rifles, this thing was a monster. It basically power crept Cataclysmic back in the day. So I thought this time, you know, why not honor its legacy a bit, give it some really nice damage perks. So we're going with Rewind Rounds and Aggregate Charge here with the option for Elemental Honing. Rewind Rounds will help you fire it for much longer. Linears, you know, a bit of meta commentary here. They're not very good, and I don't think they will ever be very good unless they're given some very specific buffs or just very strong buffs in general. I just thought, you know, give it some of the best damage and reload perks you can for now until Bungie decide to buff linears if they ever do. So Rewind, Aggregate Charge on Storm Chaser. Spire of the Watcher. Did you know that there are 2 weapons in Spire of the Watcher that did not come back with the Right of the Nine reprisal? That being the 7th Seraph Carbine and the 7th Seraph Officer Revolver. Now I want to focus on the Carbine because one, I think this is a very sick looking gun model, and also it's an auto rifle, and I want to show some love to auto rifles. If you can't tell, I quite like auto rifles, and I'm thinking Onslaught Rampage. Now we haven't seen that combination of perks on an auto rifle since the Gambit auto rifle Breakneck, and it was really weird that when Bungie actually brought Breakneck back, you know, maybe a year ago, whatever, they didn't give it Onslaught Rampage. They give it like Subsistence Rampage, which is really boring. So I really hope that if they want to hit it big with this refresh, they give some spicy perk combos. We also have Seraph rounds here, which is, you know, a bit of a throwback to these older weapons. Very nice if we had Onslaught and Rampage on the 7th Seraph Carbine. Goes to the deep. We have Cold Comfort here. Now, my idea for Cold Comfort is very, very specialized because we had a new perk come out recently, this being All-Star. Now, All-Star is a damage perk that improves the damage of your weapon by 35%. 35% when you collect an ammo brick for 7 seconds up to 10 seconds. So, with Cold Comfort, I would like this to be the Overflow Rocket. There are other rockets that have Overflow on them that you can do Overflow damage rotations, which are very, very specialized. However, I think having Cold Comfort be the one would be very good. Give it Overflow so that whenever you pick up a brick, it reloads the weapon, you know, to above normal capacity, which I think should reload it to 3. Then with All-Star, when you pick up said brick, it gives you 35% increased damage. They just work very well together. All-Star and Overflow, very nice perk combo. Of course, we have Restoration Ritual on these weapons as well, which means that after you get a finisher or revive somebody, you're going to get an extra reload. So that 3 mag turns into a 4 mag just the one time. Of course, you could go ahead and give it Envious and a damage perk like Elemental Honing, Chill Clip in the left as well. But I think Overflow All-Star would work very nicely for Cold Comfort. It would set its identity apart from other rockets as well, which I think is very important. Warlord's Ruin has to be Indebted Kindness. There's no other weapon that I could highlight. I'm sure they are preparing a bunch of other good combos for the other weapons, but this is the one that is by far the most famous, notorious from the dungeon. And I think they could definitely do something with it, but not too much has to be done. Still want Volt Shot in the right. Definitely not Jolting Feedback. Please do not give us another on-fall situation. Thank you, Bungie. I would like Volt Shot on my rocket sidearms. In the left, we do have some interesting options. I think I would like to have Air Trigger in the left, which is why I've selected Air Trigger and Volt Shot as my god roll. But Supercharged Magazine could also work as well, because I think that should allow you to get to like 25 in the mag, which is going to be pretty nice for a rocket sidearm. Could also bring back Lead from Gold here, but me personally, I love Air Trigger so much on my Tenacious Mastery that I wish every single rocket sidearm had it. In fact, every time that I use a rocket sidearm, I am jumping into the air to reload instinctively because I use Tenacious so much. So having Air Trigger and Volt Shot on Indebted Kindness would be very nice to have. Vesper's Host has got to be the VS Velocity Baton Area Denial Frame Grenade Launcher, and not too much has to be done to this. My only request is that they give it auto-loading holster in the left column. I think this should still be treated as your orb printer, even though they were nerfed in Renegades or whenever it was. Having auto-loading holster in the left, which is currently missing, would be quite nice. Can go with auto-loading and attrition orbs, or auto-loading plus bait, auto-loading plus destabilizing rounds. Just want to see auto-loading holster in the left. Moving on to Sunder Doctrine, we're looking at Unloved here, and this hand cannon is a heavy burst hand cannon, which are usually very good for Lucky Pants rotations. However, the reason you don't see Unloved used in those currently is because it had some pretty bad damage perks for Lucky Pants applications. So we're going to change that. We have 4th times a charm and a redirection on here, and I think redirection will be a pretty fun experiment because you can stack that all the way up to 30 times, which combined with a Lucky Pants buff, by the way, redirection is a 100% damage buff. So if you combine that for a limited number of shots with Lucky Pants, this could be a very cool weapon, even maybe contending with Uncivil Discourse, but I'm sure they're nerfing that anyway. At least I hope they are. That thing is crazy. That's my one request with Unloved. Give it some sustain and damage perks that work with Lucky Pants stuff. So that is going to do it for the dungeon weapons. Now let's move on to the raid weapons. Okay, so for the raid weapons, again, going in release order or most recent order, we're going to start with Last Wish, and we have Apex Predator. Now, you know how I mentioned earlier with Cold Comfort, I would like it for these reprise rockets to have separate identities to one another. Well, that is my idea with Apex Predator because I want this one to be the Ad Clear rocket, and that is why I'm giving it Discord and Redirection. Never before seen on a rocket before, and maybe a little bit game breaking, but come on, let's get a little bit of game breaking these days. The population ain't doing too good, so maybe if people came back for some overpowered Ad Clear rockets, infinite ammo stuff, might be pretty nice, you know? Discord is obviously going to make it so when you get a kill with a different weapon, if you swap to the Discord weapon, kills with it will refund the ammo. So I can just use it for Ad Clear infinitely for like 7 seconds. Then Redirection is going to make it so whenever I kill those red bars or get hits against them, which they're going to die to the rocket anyway, I'm going to accumulate those redirection stacks, and then whenever we come across a boss target, like a mini boss or a champion or something, using a rocket against them is going to deal 100% increased damage. This might be a little bit game breaking because you can store up those redirection rockets, especially if this is a tier 5 treatment sort of thing where you have like reconstruction on here. You can bring in like a whole reserve's worth of double damage rockets into a damage phase, which might be a bit too much, but in that case, just remove redirection. I really just want to see Discord on a rocket and just see how it plays. Oh, Garden of Salvation. There is only one one weapon that I am really interested to see come back or just, you know, have interesting perks, and that is the Reckless Oracle. Shout out to the photo inhibition origin trait. Perks wise, don't need to see too much of a difference with Reckless Oracle. I'm thinking destabilizing rounds plus attrition orbs. You will not see the attrition orbs triggering too often, but to be honest, I don't really know what else they could put on here. Perhaps Golden Tricorn. In fact, I don't know if it has Golden Tricorn already. I think it doesn't, but maybe Destay plus Golden Tricorn, because the kills from Volatile will count as ability kills, which might trigger Golden Tricorn, or if you're using it with a grenade build, for example. But I think attrition orbs might be a cool perk to have in the right, just to give you a little bit of extra utility. Destabilizing rounds is already good enough. Damage perks you don't really need. It's basically just there for the explosions. It's just going to be nice to have this in an updated form that I can take into whatever content I like. Deepstone Crypt, we have the Heritage, very iconic shotgun used for double slug swaps back in the day, 07 to the double slugs. We have Overflow and Cascade Point. Want to see Cascade Point on this weapon just because I think it would be pretty cool to see a slug shotgun firing so quickly. And we have Overflow on here, which is going to let you get to, you know, 12 to 14 depending on what mag you have. So that's going to be pretty nice for maybe some slug shotgun rotations if Bungie decide to buff up slug shotguns in a way for damage, at least when compared to something like a Rocket Pulse. Please nerf Rocket Pulses, Bungie, to let other guns compete. This might be pretty cool. Having Overflow and Cascade Point on the same shotgun might be a cool damage combination. Obviously give it recombination as well. Recombination, very iconic. I think it's one of the 2 weapons that has this perk, so definitely keep that on there. Similarly, for the Vault of Glass, we have the Found Verdict here with Cascade Points, but this time in the left column. And the reason I want to see this here is because I think it would be pretty cool to see Found Verdict as just a very nice swap option for some shotgun dump DPS, like very high burst damage. Now, you might be thinking, Cascade Point in the left, it only has a magazine size of 4. You can increase that to like 5 with a mag perk, yes, but you forget this weapon has the Time Loss Magazine origin trait, which doubles the size of your mag after using a super. So you could do something like use a Thunder Crash super, then your Found Verdict has like 10 shots in the mag. You could then pair that with Heritage, where you get a couple precision hits, which also has Cascade Point, swap to Found Verdict, Cascade Point activated, dump 10 shots, bang, 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 straight back to the Heritage, which has like 16 shots in it because of Overflow, bang, 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 bang. Could be pretty cool. Could be a pretty cool combination. Heritage plus Found Verdict. All is in your court, Bungie. Cascade Point in the left, please. Many people's favorite raid, Vow of the Disciple. There is only one perk combination that I want to see out of all of these guns. Don't care about the rest, and it has to be the Submission SMG with Attrition Orbs and Kinetic Tremors. Please, please. I think they're probably going to do this, but it would be very nice to have a direct multi-mac replacement, a direct multi-mac power creep. Now, multi-mac is very good. It feels very good with the field-tested origin trait. Of course, it's one of the most tried and true primary weapons that people still use in the sandbox, despite primaries being overall very weak. The reason that people use multi-mac is because of the utility you get. You get the stagger from Kinetic Tremors, and most importantly, you get the orbs from Kinetic Tremors. Submission is also a 900 RPM SMG, and so it should make sense for it to get this combination. Plus, the difference here is that Submission has the Soul Drinker origin trait, which is arguably better than something like Field Tested. Getting the entire magazine worth of hits gives you like a very decent amount of health. I think it's like anywhere between 50 and 60, something like that. You notice it when you've used this weapon, especially if you used it back in the day. And Vow of the Disciple is one of the raids in the game that suffers the most from outdated perks on their weapons. If you go and look at some of these perk pools, you kind of can't believe that they're real weapons, at least compared to what we get these days. So it's very good that they're getting a refresh, and please, Bungie, give Submission, Attrition Orbs, and Kinetic Tremors. Please, please. King's Fall, Zauli's Bane. The only one I could really think of, to be honest. The rest of them are just kind of meh. You leave your suggestions down in the comments. This is the extent of my imagination. I'm thinking Firefly and Incandescent for Zauli's Bane. It does have Firefly currently, but it's in the right column, so it's in the same column as Incandescent, so I think swapping that over might be pretty nice to mess with. You get the reload benefits and the explosion from Firefly, plus the explosion from Incandescent as well. Of course, give it explosive payload as well as Incandescent too, because that combination is also very good, but I think it could be fun to mess around with Firefly in the left column as well. Root of Nightmares, we have Rufus's Fury here. Now, I'm going to be breaking the rules a little bit here. So, as some of you may know, Rufus's Fury is a 720 RPM auto rifle. 720. So, Bungie don't give onslaught to these weapons, because then that means the RPM of them is going to be way too high. The only weapon that can increase its rate of fire that is at base a 720, I believe, is Necrochasm. That is the only one that goes up to like 900 or even further RPM. But I think they should bend the rules a little bit here and give Rufus's Fury onslaught and hatchling, because strand primary weapons, pretty weak, primary weapons in general, pretty weak. So like I was saying earlier, give it some spicy perks, rule-breaking perks to really shake things up. I think having Onslaught in the left and then Hatchling, which is basically the best splash perk that Strand has access to, would be a pretty cool combination to see on this weapon. Plus, having another auto rifle fire at 900 RPM would be pretty cool to see. Okay, penultimate entry, we have Crota's End, and this is going to be the Song of Iyut, and I want to see this weapon come back with some really juiced up-to-date arc perks. Now, before, the best perks that this gun has is like Demolitionist and High Ground. So I think we need to just do away with those, maybe bring back Demolitionist, but what I have here is Supercharge Magazine and Killing Tally as the one I have selected, but it would also be very cool to see Trickle Charge and Rolling Storm as well, because as you know, these two perks allow the weapon to fire infinitely. You don't have a damage perk, but you have the trade-off of never having to reload with every kill that you get. It also has the Curse Thrall Origin trait, which makes it basically the best machine gun in the game, even now, and especially if it had updated perks, no contest, this would hands down be the best machine gun in the game. So this is what I would like to see on the Song of Iyut. Finally, with Salvation's Edge, we have the Summon Bonum. Now, with this sword, I think, again, it would be very cool to get a first-time debut of Discord on the sword. So we have Discord here, and of course, with it being a sword, give it Eager Edge. They've already given Eager Edge to a waveframe sword, that being the Sinancia from Arms Days. Let us mess around with an infinite ammo sword. You know, waveframe swords are already very good. Having one for Adclair would be pretty fun. Could lead to some fun builds with any sword-related perks, especially this season with the sword artifact that we have. So again, ballers in your court, Bungie could make a really fun weapon here. Just get a kill with a rocket pulse, swap to the sword, and you have infinite ammo for it for like 7 seconds, which is really cool. Shout out to Discord. And you've got the lunge from Eager Edge too. So I think this would work very nicely for Summon Bonum. So that is my wish list for the rad weapons coming in the June 9th update. Just a bit of a more casual video here today. So let me know if you guys enjoyed this down in the comments below. Can definitely make some more content like this. As I said in a community post recently, content is going to be a little bit sparse for Destiny between now and the update, but I will be making videos that I am very passionate about, and there are quite a few cool ones in the pipe. So as always, and especially these days, thank you very much to anyone who comes and watches the videos, and I hope you are looking forward to the update as much as I am. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye for now, dear viewer.